everybody. This is Alan Ellman, the Blue Collar Investor, welcoming you to this BCI podcast number 150, titled Game Plan When Our Cash Secured Puts Are Exercised. We're going to be looking at a real-life example with Etsy Inc., which trades on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol ETSY. All right, let's start off by defining the term selling cash secured puts. Now, when we sell a cash secured puts, we have selected an underlying security, stock or ETF, based on sound fundamental, technical, and common sense principles. That is the BCI screening methodology. Now, we select out of the money put strikes 99% of the time that will meet our stated initial time value return goal range. Now, when I'm looking at monthly returns, my sweet spot is 2 to 4% a month. If I'm doing weeklies, I just divide that by 4. And that's my initial time value return goal range. There's no right or wrong here. If you want to be more conservative, go a little bit lower. You want to be a little more aggressive, go a little bit higher. Now, once this put trade is executed, we immediately go into position management mode. Are there any trade adjustments we could make that could mitigate losses or enhance gains? We always must be prepared to take advantage of these exit strategy opportunities. Now, this article is going to highlight the choices we have if our cash secured puts are exercised and the shares are in fact put to us. Stated differently, if we allow the shares to be put to us. So here's our real life example now with Etsy. On expiration Friday, which was January 15th, 21, I had 205 Etsy cash secured puts in place. And on that day, the market actually declined substantially, moving the original out of the money put now becomes an in the money put as of 4 p.m. Eastern time. Now, I could have bought back the put to prevent exercise and prevent the shares being put to me, but instead I decided to allow exercise and accept the 200 shares at 205. Now remember, Etsy at that time was trading at 204.68. So I started out the next week in a negative position, 32 cents negative, as of the close of the market. Now, as I said, I could have closed it, but I decided to accept the shares. Now, what was my game plan? Because when you enter a trade, any trade, whether it's a put trade or a covered call trade, you have to have a game plan in place for every possible scenario. In this particular case, I was willing to get those shares put to me. I was willing to accept those shares because Etsy was a security that I wouldn't mind owning in my portfolio. So I had the shares put to me as of the Saturday after expiration Friday, 200 shares at 205 per share. You're looking at a screenshot now taken from one of my brokerage accounts where you see I bought 200 shares of Etsy at $205. And that was a result of assignment on 1/16. So now what happens? I own 200 shares at 205. What can we do? What are our alternatives? Well, one of them is to keep the shares. That was part of my plan. I was willing to hold on to these shares in the long term unless I could make a very significant short-term capital gain on Etsy. In other words, if Etsy popped up significantly the following week. Now, when we sell a cash secured put, we can actually buy that stock at a discount instead of using limit orders. So in this particular case, the limit order could be set, but if it's not reached, we no longer we don't own those shares at all. And the cash that we set aside to purchase them did absolutely nothing for us. However, if we sell a cash secured put with a break-even price point much lower than current market value, and if that is then exercised, we have purchased the stock at a significant discount. If it doesn't reach the strike price, Well, we get paid not to buy the shares. The BCI trade management calculator or any of our put calculators will generate this information for us. Okay, the second possibility, if the shares are put to us, we could then write a covered call and keep the cash generating process continuing. So that is part of what I call and what we call in the BCI community the PCP strategy, or put call put. Outside the BCI community, some folks refer to it as the wheel strategy. Here our objectives are to generate premium, cash flow. And the other possible outcome is that we buy a stock at a discount, as you saw here with Etsy. Now, if this were my objective, I could have sold an out of the money or an in the money covered call. In the money would be a more defensive position, out of the money would be more aggressive, and the determination of the call strike would be based on our overall market assessment and our personal risk tolerance. But the time value component of the premium, whether it's in the money or out of the money, should align with our initial time value return goal range. Let's move on to alternative number 3, and that is selling the stock. Now, this is related to alternative number 1, retain the shares in our buy and hold portfolio. At the time of these trades, Etsy was in fact a security I wouldn't mind owning in my portfolio. I wouldn't mind. But my plan when I started this put trade was to allow exercise, if it came to that, and retain the shares unless I could generate a significant short-term profit, which is exactly what happened, and I'm going to show you right now. On Monday, after expiration Friday, Etsy popped up. Friday, it dropped down below the put strike. Monday, it popped up, and it popped up to 217.64. And what I was able to do was sell those 200 shares on Monday after accepting exercise and assignment on Friday, and that represented an additional profit over and above my put premiums of $2,529. Let's summarize. Our plan for selling cash secured puts must be in place prior to entering the trades. In other words, what are we going to do if the shares are in fact put to us? Are we even going to allow exercise? So we have to have all this thought out before we sell the cash secured puts. Now, we launch the trades by selecting an underlying security, in this case Etsy, and we select an option, generally again for puts in the BCI methodology. It's going to be out of the money, and that strike should generate our initial time value return goal range that's stated in advance of entering these trades. And then we must have a detailed plan for position management in place prior to entering that trade, which will allow us to react in a non-emotional manner for every possible outcome. Now, for those of you who are new to option selling, this all can seem very intimidating because there are so many things to think about. But trust me, just like when we learned to drive a car and how intimidating that was, after a while, this all becomes very much second nature. So we got to educate ourselves, we got to practice a little bit, and then we have years and decades to benefit from these great option selling strategies. Before I go, let me mention our 2 best educational packages, our BCI package, which is an acronym for our best and most comprehensive educational products, and it contains 18 components, 6 online video courses with downloadable workbooks, 6 calculators invented by the blue-collar investor, found nowhere else, 5 of our best-selling books in ebook format for both covered call writing and selling cash secured puts, and our student book on financial literacy, which is used now at 4 universities here in the United States, and our 13-month premium membership. You'll have videos of these packages and all the advantages to getting them when you go to the link I'll show you in just a second. The other package, our second of the 2 best packages, is the Trade Management Calculator package, which includes the TMC, and my eighth book, Exit Strategies for Covered Call Writing and Selling Cash Secured Puts. You could see a little image of the video in that link as well. Where do you get this information? Go to our website, thebluecollarinvestor.com, and click on the link that says Best Discounted Packages, and there's plenty of information in easy to watch videos as well. We can also go to our store, thebluecollarinvestor.com/store, and purchase items individually, but the best values are those discounted packages. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our BCI podcast number 150, a game plan when our cash secured puts are exercised. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and most importantly, I hope it puts cash in your pockets. As always, this is Alan Elman, the Blue Collar Investor. Take care, everybody.